you like NASCAR? Do you like A Tribe Called Quest? Well, you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like manwich and nachos? Well, then you'd love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like guns? Do you like butter? Well, you're gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Yo, what's good, son? You like pit bulls, say? You like solving Sudoku puzzles? Then you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Hey, buddy, if your car making a sound like this, you might want to get you some power steering fluid and check out the Urban Conservative podcast.
Are you repulsed by the idea of drag queen story time at your local library, but enjoy Carol Baskin TikTok memes? Then you would enjoy the Urban Conservative. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you got it, bro. Let's do it.
No, you fired off. Fire in the hole, bro.
No, I'm retrieving. Go ahead. Shoot it out there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday night. It's 8 p.m. That means it's time for the Urban Conservative Podcast. I am Abdul Ali. I'm joined by my twin brother, Raheem Architect Soto. You are checking out the Urban Conservative Podcast. Our mission here is to expose the BS, to share conservative values and principles, to create a more informed electorate, and to ensure that our folks are getting out and voting and know what's happening. And today's show is no different. We've got a very interesting one. We're going to be talking about the importance of local elections. And you might be like, well, you don't live where I live, but you guarantee you, wherever you're at, you got some local elections and you ain't happy about everything. And if you do live in a place where you're happy about everything, I need to be living in the place where you live in, where you got everything under control. Now, one of the interesting things why we decided to talk about local elections is because more often than not, the local elections are 5, 7, 8, 10 years from now where your congressmen are going to come from, where your state legislators are going to come from. So when you're mad about how bad somebody's doing in Washington and you didn't do the research to see how bad they was doing as the mayor of the town they were in, or as bad as they were doing as a legislator before they got to Congress, there's that.
All right, so I don't know. Before we bring any candidates on, I do have to say this because you know this is just an observation, right? When you say that, right? What I'm stuck with is hopefully it should. I wish it would have really worked that way because there's no way you end up with Joe Biden. How do you end up with that guy, right? If your track record should lead you,
should.
Just explain to you guys, we seen this guy coming. He was in the Senate, right? Or was he a senator? What was he?
Yeah, he was a Senator Biden, Senator Joe Biden.
Yeah. Come on, folks.
Yo, my favorite video of all time of Joe Biden as the Senate is when he's talking about natural law to Clarence Thomas. Did you ever see that?
No, my favorite thing him ever saying is, I'm dumb. I'm stupid. I've done stupid things and I'll do them again. I'm stupid.
Wow. But ladies and gentlemen, we do have a couple of special guests that are going to join us tonight. As always, jump in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from, what county, city, town, and state, so that we can give you a shout out. Again, TUconservative.com is the website. I got to give a shout out to everybody that's joined over the last few days and copped that Hamilton plan so that we can keep doing what we do and keep the dice rolling. The gas house is in the building. We see you. Gastonia, North Carolina. Nash County's in the building. All right, Rocky Mount, let's go. Give this video a like, share. We got a couple of guests that we're gonna talk to tonight, bro. And I was thinking we were gonna bring them on one at a time, right? I had that as an idea, but I don't think we're gonna do that. I think this will be a very substantive conversation about local elections, and we've actually got two candidates that have joined us so far. We may have more. One, I'm going to introduce this young man first because I had the opportunity to work side by side with this young man over 2 years. He was the vice chair and I was the chairman of the Cabarrus GOP. He was the president of the Cabarrus County Republican Men's Club. Did a wonderful job. And I'm telling you, I could not have asked for a better partner, somebody to work with as part of the GOP. He's also running for Concord City Council right now, doing some record-breaking things. First guest I'm going to bring on to the show is my man, Jack Lambert. What's up, Jack?
Hey, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Jack, hold on a sec. Don't go nowhere. We got one more guest who's joining us. And my brother said this off air. This brother's running for the mayor of Rocky Mount. And interestingly, I was able to go out to Rocky Mount, be on his podcast, have what I thought was an amazing conversation. If you're in Rocky Mount and surrounding areas, you're going to know who this guy is. But to be introduced to a statewide audience for the first time on the Urban Conservative, my man Bronson Williams. What's good, Bronson? Welcome to the Urban Conservative, sir.
Thank you for the invitation this evening.
Glad that y'all could make it on. So I'm gonna get rid of that, Ra, so that we're on the screen. And I'm gonna start with because the mayor's a big thing, Bronson. Mayor's a big deal. Not that city council's not big, Jack, right? But I want to start with Jack on this city council thing. You're a young dude, Jack. And I think you got involved in politics at what, 15, 16 years old? What in the world made you decide to run for local office?
You know, the way I look at it is kind of a symptom of the society that we live in today. We don't have good people in office because nobody has ownership of their time unless you're retired, you're self-made, and you're past the point where having to work a regular job is something that you do every day. That's why we don't have a lot of quote unquote normal people or regular representatives in elected office. And I'm in a position right now in my life, even being a young person, where I do have that ownership of my own time and I have the ability to give back. So I figure, I don't know where life's going to be 5-10 years from now, but if I have the opportunity to do it now, who am I to say, no, I'm not going to serve my community when I have the chance to and have the means that other people don't have?
Nice. And Bronson, I know we talked a little bit about it, but for our audience, I want them to get a feel of why you decided to get involved and run for mayor in a town like Rocky Mount.
Man, I love the city. So, of course, I talked to you about it. This is actually my third time running for the office of mayor, started back in 2015. And so what it is, of course, I'm consistent and determined to make a difference in our community. Even not being elected, I've been very instrumental in some of the changes that we need as far as having city council meetings being broadcast live, being sure that we change some of our policies when it came to utilities. So I've always been involved. And I think one of the crazy things that we don't have in our city is an updated comprehensive plan. How in the world do we know where we're going if we got a plan from 2003? It makes zero sense at all. And then oftentimes we see our city council meetings on social media, see some of the things we don't need to be seeing. Okay, we need some structure and some order and real discipline within our city council chambers, and I hope to bring that to the community.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, Jack, Bronson talked a little bit about a comprehensive plan. He got a little more mayoral off the bat. But here's my question: a town like Concord, how many people are in Concord?
Well, right now, about 120,000-ish people live in Concord. The census estimates it closer to 110,000, but some other more recent data puts it near the 120 mark, and we're only expected to grow. We're the 10th biggest city in North Carolina right now, and by 2045, I believe it is, we're going to have double the number of people we have now, closer to that 350,000 mark.
So, and I'm assuming as a small business owner in Concord, you're seeing the growth, you're seeing the opportunity there, and you kind of want to have a business sense into this. What's your biggest concern about the city of Concord from an economic development perspective that the voter from Concord watching this should know that Jack Lambert is going to work on when he gets there from an economic development perspective?
Yeah, well, I've made no bones about this. I am for revenue positive tax incentives. I think they work. I'm a capitalist at heart, and I believe that supply side economics are absolutely proven economics to work. And I equate it to this. Have you guys ever seen the old lumberjacks where they're doing like the log run and the last guy to fall into the water wins and all that? I look at us like a city kind of in that nature. If we don't offer incentives to incentivize big companies like Eli Lilly, Red Bull, and Ranch to come here, we're in the water. Other cities will offer those incentives for those major companies to come here to bring jobs to Concord and Cabarrus counties so people can live, work, and play here in a self-sustaining ecosystem that really benefits the people and the county in general and the city.
Excellent. Now, you might think, Bronson, because Concord has triple, you're talking about triple the amount of people, but still economic development is a concern for the citizens of Rocky Mount. And that's something both Concord, Charlotte, any city is concerned with economic development. What could you say to the folks that are watching from Rocky Mount and may see this over the next, few hours leading into election time? What are your thoughts about economic development in Rocky Mount, and what are some of the things you think you would bring to the table as a mayor to positively affect economic development?
Sure. When we look at, again, I go back to our city council meetings, right? And I go back to some of the conversation that happened, and I call it theater, okay? We're supposed to be elected to do a job, not to be actors and actresses there within our city council chambers. And so when you want business folks to come in, you must be business minded and have the business lingo inside your council chambers so they understand, one, I respect and value every citizen in our community. But the side part of that too is, while the city government really has no general statute authority to deal with schools, we do need to be a better partnership with our schools, because we want industry to come in. We also got to be sure that students, our children, our youth, even adults, they have access to those skills and tools to get the training, the certification they need, so that when industry is coming in, one of the best incentives is being sure that you got a qualified workforce to be able to do the job day one. I mean, that's the biggest incentive I think anyone can ever offer, even beyond the financial incentives. Of course, with Concord, you name it, Raleigh, you name it, everybody's doing incentives, so you got to do that too. But you also want to be sure that we have strong relationships with our local school boards, but we straddle two counties, right? So both Nash and Edgecombe County, we've got to be paramount. Even when it comes to vocational training, what can we do as a city to help our community have a vocational school? Because if you want to build housing and everything else, you've got to have that skilled workforce as well that is depleting right now, right? The average age of an electrician is way older than what it should be.
I was talking to a buddy of mine, Bronson, who's a pilot, and I was talking to Parrish, as a matter of fact, Jack. And what Parrish was saying is that young people going into the aeronautics field specifically to become pilots, we're literally outsourcing pilots to other countries.
Wow.
When we have think about what that, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a pilot from Ghana, but I would love to have a pilot from Rocky Mount flying a plane or a pilot from Concord. So I think you're right. And I'm really glad that you mentioned the separation between what a municipal government does as a city and education, and emphasizing that partnership there. One thing, and Jack, I'm glad you mentioned that, Bronson. Jack, one thing is going on in Cabarrus County now is the need to build schools, and Concord, Harrisburg areas are both burgeoning, growing areas in North Carolina. How do you guys, or what can you do to ensure a better working relationship between the city of Concord and Cabarrus County schools? What does that look like to you from a city councilman's perspective?
Yeah, so an interesting dynamic that a lot of people are confused on is kind of the difference between how cities and counties work. Statutorily, municipalities exist as a municipal corporation by virtue of the state and are given powers that counties simply don't have. For instance, cities have roads. Cities have ownerships of streets, roads, and bridges in North Carolina, as well as the state, where the county has no ownerships of streets, roads, or bridges. And cities get special powers that counties are not entitled to because of how they exist. But from Cabarrus County and a Concord standpoint, when the county and the city move together in stride, it's almost unstoppable. When they work against each other, you're in pretty deep in that instance. But luckily, for the past several years, the county and the city, unlike some of our neighboring counties and cities, have been able to work really well and really cohesive together. We have some excellent areas for economic development in Concord, like the Concord Mills area, the Concord Pageant Regional Airport, and even here where I live in downtown. I mean, I live right beside a $120 million brand new Cabarrus County Courthouse that exists right in the heart of downtown Concord, a block away from City Hall. So when the city and the county move together in unison to make areas more desirable, it really is a step in the right direction.
Excellent. Now, he touched on something, Bronson, that was an area of concern in Rocky Mount, which was the building of a courthouse and a facility there. Something we got when we told folks you would be coming on, they would say, well, what's Bronson's thoughts on that whole development and that idea? So what are your thoughts on that development of a courthouse? Is there a need in Rocky Mount for a new facility of that nature? And also, what do you say to the folks that say, oh, y'all only want to build that courthouse so you can lock up more Black people? Like, what are your thoughts on all of that?
You know, of course, those who've been following the community know that I thought, and I think that we do need to do that, right? Mm-hmm. How in the world did our city council and members of the community come into the chambers and turn down nearly possibly $15 million from state government to help subsidize the construction of a new facility, right? That made no sense to me. Our current courthouse sits on Cokie Road, a ward in which I live in, and it's in a residential neighborhood. How right-fitting does it make sense to have what was a former school building to now serve as a judicial center, right? And our judicial center houses, of course, our magistrate's office, the DA's office, juvenile, some juvenile situation. I think probation's over there too. And so district court. So we're not really dealing with the Superior Court situation that's in national.
Oh, we lost Bronson for a second. I think his signal went down momentarily, or he got a phone call. Remember that he was talking about Nash County. And I'm gonna dip off here while he was talking. I got you. You're back. So okay, you said perfect. Nash County was the last thing we heard.
Okay, so what I was saying was that the location of the courthouse is kind of interesting, but I actually think that we should look at a judicial annex close to the city hall, similar to what I just heard him say, where the courthouse is there. It just makes sense. So move it from Cokie Road in the residential neighborhood, repurpose that building for housing, also a community resource center, so that we can have tremendous impact rather in our community versus what we currently got going on right now. And centralize that judicial center. And if you don't want to call it whatever you want to call it. You don't want to call it courthouse, right? So that function is going to exist, whether it's on Cokie Road or whether it's downtown Rocky Mount. But if we got an opportunity to repurpose that building and right size it for residential, I think we should do that.
Excellent, excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, you're checking out the Urban Conservative Podcast. This is a Monday night. We're talking with candidates running for local office across North Carolina. We've got Jack Lambert running for Concord City Council. We're talking with Bronson Williams, who's running for the mayorship of the city of Rocky Mount, a place that is very fun to us. We're going to come right back after this quick, very, very quick commercial break. We're going to talk a little bit more about economic development, education, and the big thing on everybody's mind, which is crime that comes along with immigration and stuff like that. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back on the Urban Conservative Podcast. I gotta get some water.
Just because you're Black doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Monday night Urban Conservative Podcast. We're talking about local elections. Yo, bro, I know you got a question. I saw you chomping at the bit over there.
Oh, you no, it wasn't so much chomping. You hit the nail on the head when you brought up crime, because that is a concern. You know, we all see it nationally, this rise in crime, and some people want to blame it on the fact that it's more readily available because we all have phones, but honestly, there's a rise in crime. People are out here going all nutty, to put it nice. Some wild stuff going on. What can we do in cities that are seeing these rises in crime, and how do you guys, what messaging, I think, is more my question, can we put out from our local elected officials to kind of get people more engaged in community safety? I don't know if you guys can remember, that used to be a thing, like neighborhood watch and things of that nature. And it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? And that might be a little before
Jack don't know nothing about that. I'm about to say that.
But what do you? And we'll start with you, Bronson. Especially with some of the challenges the city like Rocky Mount faces. What can we do to curb some of the violence? You think what would be some of the solutions you would present to work with law enforcement in your city to kind of curb some of the things we're seeing? And then we'll go to Jack.
You know, our city chief of police would give monthly crime stats, and he would actually present data that shows there's a reduction in crime, right? When I'm knocking on doors in our community, there are people that say, hey, it's not safe to be in a Rocky Mount, but I can tell you there was a countless number of doors in which the door was wide open. People feel safe as I don't know what, living in the community, enjoying life, right? And so when it comes to messaging, though, I do think we need to work on our value system again. We don't value each other. Sometimes maybe we don't even value ourselves, right? And so when we go back to what happened to the good old days where you said, hey, I'm short on this in the kitchen. Let me borrow this type of thing. Let's know our neighbors again at the end of the day, because when you know your neighbors and know each other, you're not going to want to do anything harmful to them at the end of the day. So I think it goes back to having not only just community events, but having some type of sustainable conversation that moves. Again, I'm just excited about our comprehensive plan update, in which we're going to look at stakeholders throughout the community, right? Have conversation, engage, and I hope that even after that process, we know even more of our neighbors. We know what makes them tick, so to speak. We know some of the issues, and then we can find some solutions to work each other out. But again, I don't think, there's nowhere in my city, and I've been here all of my life, in which I feel unsafe in, right? And so how, again, do we do that messaging? It is really giving the data, giving it for people you trust at the end of the day, and building a trust system back in place, right? I think a lot of our reality is we don't trust folks. And so because we don't trust folks, we don't trust the data that's been given to them. But the numbers are the numbers at the end of the day. And I think that when we see it demonstrated through me walking throughout the community, people do naturally feel safe.
That's a beautiful response to that. And Jack, along the lines of crime, you know, obviously with Concord's proximity to Charlotte, one anecdote when you and I were sitting with the district attorney, she said, you know, when people get kind of arrested on that Concord Charlotte line and they realize they're going to Cabarrus County Jail, their whole attitude kind of changes. Like, no, I want to go. Take me to Charlotte, right? But what do you do, or what do you envision is the way forward to deal with that increase of population? Obviously, with the I-85 corridor running dab smack through Cabarrus County, you know, the proximity to Charlotte and all of that. What do you do to deal with the crime issue or potential rise in crime? Because we can't say that there is one, I don't think, in Cabarrus, but what do you do to be proactive in that regard?
Yeah, well, I'll preface it with this. Concord is the 5th safest city in North Carolina, so we're in really good standing from a safety standpoint. But to address the rise in crime that goes along with the rise in the population, I think we have to look at some of the root causes of crime itself. And something that's been ravaging not just Concord, North Carolina, but the entire nation is the opioid crisis that's ripping through cities like Concord, like Rocky Mount, probably everywhere in North Carolina. Is nowhere is untouched by this issue. And it really does affect families, black, white, rich, poor. Every socioeconomic background is affected by the opioid crisis. And how do we be proactive on that, to answer your question? So one thing that just got installed at the magistrate's office, put in by the sheriff's department because of a state grant, is a Narcan vending machine, which I find to be really, really interesting. And that's open 24 hours, 7 days a week, just like the magistrate's office is, to anyone who wants to go. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, who you are. If you want a canister of Narcan, you can go in there, access that vending machine, and get one for free. You know, maybe that's an elderly woman whose son's living at home with her. She knows that he does drugs, and she just doesn't want to come in one day and find him dead. Right? This is accessible to everyone. I'd like to see one of those stationed right outside of City Hall. On top of that, I want to see more drug drop-off days. I want to see more positive policing interactions in our communities. We have a great system in the Logan community in Concord where the community meets every single month, and the district captain from Baker District, Captain Tierney, comes out and gives statistics about crime in that community every single month. And the people in that community respect, like, and enjoy having that police officer's presence there and have a personal relationship built up with him. So when something goes wrong in their community, they can pick up the phone and say, hey, Captain Tierney, this is going on. What can we do? We need your help. And he'll come and help. So that's one thing I really see as being impactful in our community as far as addressing the root cause of opioid addiction. Is one, we have to talk about it to start with. There's a misnomer around it that it only happens to certain groups of people. Trust me, it happens to everyone. And to combat that, we also have to bring in opportunities for things like second chance employment, second chance housing. We're a second chance employer at my business, as a matter of fact. We have about 15 employees on staff. Right now, about half of them are second chance employees, people who have committed some kind of offense in their life. And that literally ranges from people who have a few DUIs to right now we have somebody who's served 30 plus years for murder who works for us now. And they're both good people. One employee has been with us, second chance employee, for 17 years now. So It just goes to show that once you give people an opportunity and give them a hand up, that people really take advantage of that opportunity. And guess what they're not doing if they're working for me from 9 to 5? They're not breaking into your car to steal change to go buy dope with. If I'm drug testing them to run equipment, you know what they're not doing? They're not using drugs. If I'm giving them a paycheck at the end of the week, they're not being vagrants and sleeping on the streets here of downtown Concord. And that's really important to be able to combat crime, is addressing what really causes crime.
Sounds to me like we need more people like you two running for office, y'all. This is exciting, and I'm very interested. Hold on one second. Okay, I got a question that came in for you, Bronson. So the question is, in Rocky Mount, there's an ongoing situation about the sanitation workers, and the question is, are you in favor of the raise for the sanitation workers?
So the sanitation workers, they had a rally out today in front of City Hall, right? And so that is a very interesting situation. Here's my true opinion on it, is whatever the citizens of Rocky Mount want to do, I'm for it at the end of the day, right? But when we look at the data and see what it is, you got to put the information, you got to put the facts as they are, right? If this is what the pay is, this is what the natural average is, here's what it is. And so if we want to pay them more than that, hey, if citizens want to foot the bill for it, it's our money at the end of the day. But I don't have enough information to just blatantly say I'm for a raise. I'm in business, right? And so everybody's always going to feel as though they are underpaid at the end of the day, right? Everybody, when I used to work with someone, I'm not getting paid enough. So, that's a natural feeling. That's a natural feeling. But right now, our sanitation workers that has recently got through the most recent pay and compensation plan, they received anywhere between a 5 and a 24% raise. So the starting salary for a sanitation worker in Rocky Mount right now is $40,516. They work about 30 hours per week. And if they work on a weekend, because there's a holiday, they get paid time and a half for that. And so, what are our teachers getting paid in North Carolina? Much less than that, right? And so, those are some things to kind of think about it. And of course, our city has purchased those, what we call one-armed bandits, in which they will never pretty much get dirty, so to speak. So they drive up to the location, the arm swings out. Literally within a couple of seconds, they've dumped that canister, right? So it's not sanitation what it used to be. But again, I'm pro people at the end of the day. So that's where I am on that situation. But I will say this, because I just watched that rally and city council meeting that was canceled, and they had a special call meeting. And some of the things that I just saw tonight is a very unfortunate situation. It is a very unfortunate situation. We're trying to change the imagery of Rocky Mount and using sanitation workers and their livelihood as a campaign strategy to try to pull at people's heartstrings. I think it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. And we'll see what happens with that. But again, I hope to be Rocky Mount's next mayor, and I will address all fairness and equity with all city employees and treat them with dignity and respect.
I think that's a huge part of that, is people do want to feel like they're getting paid a competitive wage. But I think more than that, any business owner, dignity and respect mean a whole lot more. And credit to Jack. If you're not from Concord, you don't know this, but Jack runs a fairly large metal recycling operation. So we're not talking about a guy who doesn't get his hands dirty. And if you're wondering why he sounds so mature, it's because he runs a fairly large business. One of the things that, and as we get on the tail end, bro, I'm thinking lightning round for both of them. Maybe I don't know if you've been keeping tabs, right? But one thing I did want to talk about is there seems to be a kind of a cross up in the wires with people. Sometimes they think that municipal candidates for council, city council, county commissioners have a lot of input on these hot button issues. And when I say hot button issues, they tend to go, well, Bronson, you're running for mayor. What's your position on abortion? Or, Jack, you're running for mayor. What's your opinion on the Second Amendment? And you're like, yeah, I'll never have anything to do with your Second Amendment or abortion as a mayor. What do you all say to the voters that want to know your position on those hot button issues that really don't have anything to do with the job you're going to do? How do you address those? You know, whatever you found out on the campaign trail is the best way to kind of deal with that. Jack, I'll go to you first.
Okay, yeah. You know, I'm just honest about it. A lot of what you said is parts of what I say too. I preface it with, hey, you know, as a city councilman, I will never get to decide on if somebody has an abortion or not. I mean, I just literally today filled out a questionnaire from a group where that was one of the questions. What's your stance on the sanctity of life? And I preface it with, even though I'm not somebody who's going to be positioned to make that choice, you know, my stance is this, and that goes for any issue, Second Amendment, you know, because I've been asked about that, same-sex marriage even, believe it or not, even to the more minutiae things like teacher pay that the city really has no jurisdiction over. But a lot of people are confused that maybe they do. So honesty, and preface it with the fact that, hey, you know, when I get elected and I don't do anything about that, don't come after me because I can't.
Right. Bronson, same question. Oh, he must have got another phone call and checked out. I'm going to go ahead and do the Pluggington real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, you're kicking it here on the Urban Conservative Podcast on a Monday night. Bronson is back. We were talking about hot button issues that you may not ever address as a candidate. We lost him again. He'll try to jump back in. Did we all the way lose him?
So let me take this let me take this quick moment right here to do some plugging away.
Plug.
So, with local elections being the subject matter for tonight, and again, thank the candidates that did join us tonight. We're going to be doing a much more national-based show in the next 2 weeks. But here in the town of Southampton, we have some amazing candidates for our local election. So if you are in the Suffolk County area, please head over to shtownGOP.com. Shouts out to our whole squad, as you can see right here, that's running for our local elections. It's very, very important stuff. Here in Suffolk County, our next Suffolk County executive, Ed Romaine, and of course, where I'm at in my legislative district, LD2, we got our homeboy, Manny, who joined us the other night. So we got some important races here. And of course, across Suffolk County, it's important you head over to SuffolkCountyGOP.com. Make sure you know what legislative district you're in, what races is up this year. I think a lot of these seats are up. We're trying to keep and maintain our Republican majority here in the county. So SHTownGOP.com, SuffolkCountyGOP.com is the website. If you are out here, did we get Bronson back? We got
Bronson is back. Bronson is back.
Yeah, so we're back from commercial now. I've done my plugs.
All right, Bronson, we were talking about hot button issues that people ask you about on the campaign trail that you ain't never really going to have nothing to do with as a mayor. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so I think the comments are very similar to what he talked about, but again, about educating the voter. Use every opportunity as an opportunity to educate the voter as to what each function of government is doing. And that's how I am as well. So very similar to what he just talked about. So I did that.
Fantastic. I love it when a plan comes together. So here's the thing. I've got both of your websites pulled up and sitting in the background. And in order to earn that plug time, since this is the first time on the Urban Conservative, you two are going to get put through the lightning round. Now, Jack, you have seen the show before, so you may know how this works. We're going to buzz through a series of questions. We'll go Bronson and then Jack in that order so that we can keep it organized.
5?
No, we're gonna do 5 of the same question for both of them because that'll take long. But we're gonna do 5 of the same thing. And
how many questions you got so far?
I've got 3 for both of them at least.
I got 2. Okay, I got 2. All
right, we lost Bronson. We'll give him a few seconds to jump back in.
He was gonna have to go first.
Yeah, we lost Bronson. So you want to give him a sec? In the meantime. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done so already, jump over to tuconservative.com. Grab yourself a Hamilton plan. We reach a little over about 250,000 to 500,000 people a month, and we have a very active audience. If you want your brand or product in front of that very active audience, you go to tuconservative.com, grab yourself a membership, click on that sponsor a show tab, and that will help you become more connected. And they gotta earn that one. They gotta earn that screen share. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and get Jack out the way, and then we'll bring Bronson back in when he comes up. So Jack, lightning round. Did I hear Bronson back? All right, we just got him back. Hold on, we working on him. I feel like he's popping back in any moment here. This is the beauty of live podcasting. Not so much, bro. No. All right, Jack, I got you.
Jack, let's do it.
All right, Jack, Nikes or Adidas?
Adidas.
I did not take Jack for an Adidas guy.
Well, let me preface that. I don't really have a pair of either, but out of the two of them, I've owned one pair of Adidas and no pair of Nikes, so Adidas.
Fair.
Yep.
Fair enough. All right, bro, what you got?
All right. Hot dog, hamburgers, or pizza?
Pizza, Little Caesars. Yeah.
Okay. He said, look, okay.
Hey, there you go. Go ahead.
All right. So these are two people that are outside of your time frame, but Stallone or Schwarzenegger?
Arnold.
You think Arnold's the better guy? Okay.
I knew he would go.
I think out of the two of them, that Arnold could probably win in a fight. So I'm going to go with Arnold.
You seen how much human growth hormone Stallone is on? Like, there's no way you're that rock solid at 80. Like, bro, it's got to be a bunch of HGH. Okay. Yeah. So, Jack, here's the thing. You are stuck on a desert island. Okay. You're going to eat the same thing every day for breakfast. You're going to eat the same thing every day for lunch. You're going to eat the same thing every day for dinner. You have one book and you have one album. So what's your everyday breakfast?
Can it be anything?
Anything you want, but you're eating it every day for breakfast.
I'm going to go with bananas. That's my everyday usual breakfast here. So not that big of a change.
Okay, so you're going to do some bananas. Now, anything you want in the world for lunch, but you're going to eat it every day for the rest of your life. What do you got?
If they could put a Mr. C's restaurant on the island, Adul will know what I'm talking about from being in Concord. If they could put a Mr. C's on the island, Mr. C's chicken would probably be the best option.
Okay, Mr. C's, and then dinner. You got the same dinner every night for the rest of your life. What do you got?
I'll revert to my previous answer and go with Little Caesars pizza. I mean, it's the only thing you can really eat good leftover out of the fridge. So, most solid pizza brand in town, I'll say. Chain pizza. So, I'll go with that.
All right. Last but not least, you got one book and one album. What are you reading every day and what are you listening to?
Oh. So, for the album, I'm going to go with the Charlie Daniels Band. Charlie Daniels put out some solid music back in his day, and he's got a lot of variety too. Book-wise, I'm probably going to have to go with my favorite book, Stalling for Time by Gary Nessner. It's about FBI hostage negotiation. I really enjoy reading it. I've reread it a bunch of times, so I'm going to go with that.
I did not see that coming.
Really, pizza and hostage negotiation and bananas in the morning. So, yeah, I won't last long on the island.
So my question was red or blue Kool-Aid?
Well, Adul knows this, but I'm strictly a water man. So that's all that for 5 or 6 years.
I'll take it. No Kool-Aid. There you
go. Thanks to Jack, I know what liquid death is, bro.
Yeah, well, so
Jack put you onto the liquid death? I love liquid death.
If I was on the desert island, that's all I had to drink was red or blue Kool-Aid. I think I'd pick the red.
All right, sounds good. We lost Bronson. We weren't able to get him back on, but because, Jack, you were able to get through the lightning round, here is... No, that's not the right website. That's not the right website. That's the right website. Jack, you get the screen and plug away. Tell people how they can support your campaign for Concord City Council. Holla at the folks, Jack.
Yeah, if you're interested in supporting the campaign, go to lambertforconcord.com. You can reach out to me at jack@lambertforconcord.com. Click the donate button, share stuff on Facebook, Jack Lambert for Concord, same handle on Instagram. Every dollar counts towards what we're doing. We need all the help we can get. So I'd appreciate any contributions or any support you can give.
Excellent. Fantastic. And ladies and gentlemen, there is the website. Again, Jack Lambert running for Concord City Council, lambertforconcord.com. Also, what I'm going to do is, because we lost Bronson, I'm not going to not give him the look. There is bronsonwilliams.com. If you live in the city of Rocky Mount, interested to find out more about one of your mayoral candidates, you go to bronsonwilliams.com. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we have been kicking it with my man Jack Lambert and Bronson Williams, who unfortunately had a technical glitch, but we've been talking about the importance of local elections, why you need to get out and vote. We've highlighted some important things. So if you live in the city of Concord, when is your election, Jack?
November 7th.
November 7th. Make sure you get out there, get yourself prepared and ready to vote. We will be back live and direct tomorrow morning for Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. Again, TUconservative.com if you haven't done so already.
Maybe tomorrow night with them Rocky Mount results live.
Ooh, yeah, I think we're gonna do that. We might be doing that. Oh, Jack, you got a shout out. I got a shouts out to Caitlin in the building. Give me a shout out there.
Never heard
there you
of
go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've been kicking it, talking about local elections on the Urban Conservative Podcast. For my twin brother, Raheem Architect Soto, and my man, Jack Lambert. Y'all stay tuned. We'll see y'all directly here for Top of the Morning. Get out and vote, man. Get off your butt and go vote if you got an election. Peace.
Just because you're black doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at TUconservative.com.